What's up, you guys? Alex Nava here. You may know me. I'm the main star here on the Iced Coffee Hour with Graham and Jack. You know, it's too important. They didn't put my name on the sign, you know, whatever. But I heard that J-Bay was actually in Vegas spending irresponsible amounts of money on hotel rooms. So I don't think Graham would approve of this purchase. So let's go confront him right now. J-Bay?
Yeah.
Why are you wearing a robe?
What are you talking about?
Anyway, what's this? How much money did you spend on this hotel room?
It's just the bare essentials.
There's a TV in the bathroom.
You gotta have a TV.
What?
Give you a look in here. Here's our closet.
What about the view?
What do you mean?
The view.
The bare essentials.
What is this? Your clock has a TV on it. I just came to let you know that I thought you were spending irresponsible amounts of money right here on this beautiful, beautiful hotel room, but too much money.
Alexa, close the curtains.
You gotta be kidding me.
Okay.
What, are you too lazy? You can't close your own curtains? You need Alexa to do it?
Don't you have that in your home?
I don't know if Graham would approve of this.
What do you mean?
What? A couch? A desk? So why am I really here?
Oh, we're gonna do an interview.
Oh, okay, let's go.
Hey everybody, J-Bay here, and I'm here with Alex Nava, lead star of the Iced Coffee Hour.
I'm Mr. No Cartoon Camera, yeah.
And you're the lead star.
I'm the lead star. Honestly, I'm basically the whole show.
So we're gonna give him a quick little interview to see what's going on. So how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you? It's nice to see you here in Las Vegas. You're living the lap of luxury, as they say, in this nice premiere.
What is it like working for Graham Stephan?
It's hard work, of course, but it's really cool. It's really fun, and I really like Graham. It's really cool because you get to meet cool people. You know, you get to do what you love, which for me is editing video, shooting video, just being in the creator space. You know, you get a sense of fulfillment out of helping people learn about finance. And then the other side of it is, of course, there's those late nights. Sometimes things don't go as planned and up in the air. You got to deal with it. But overall, I love it, man. It's been life-changing for me.
How long does it take you to edit a video for Graham's main channel?
So to edit a full video for the main channel, right now, I got it down to about anywhere between 5 to 8 hours, depending on the complexity of the video. I'd say I average probably between about 6.5 hours per video. But I definitely have those nights where it takes longer. No, you don't want to rush a video just because you're trying to get it done. And Graham is a very particular person, and if I'm even off by a frame, he'll call me out. So, gotta get it done.
A single frame.
Yeah, single frame.
He's called you out for a single frame.
A single frame. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So it seems like in a lot of the videos, Graham is kind of hard on you, right? Like if you say, "Hey, I went to the park," he'll be like, "Oh, that was time spent that you could have been working."
So basically, you're telling me, get back to work.
Gotta get back to work. So ready to get back to work?
Is he on top of you quite a bit about always working?
So no, realistically, no. I mean, it's more of a bit. I mean, even on the podcast, he's openly said, I was like, Graham, you know, I love what I do. I think I make a good amount of money now where I don't have to worry about it. What would you do if you were me? You know what he told me? He said, I would just enjoy life, tinker around with your aquarium. That's what he told me. That's what he told me. Graham Stephan told me that. No, but, you know, he is about obviously like, you know, during work, obviously being very optimized for work, because, you know, if you take a task and you spread it out throughout the week, it's going to waste your whole week. If you can get into a focus where you can get that task done in, you know, one day, you know, then you have another 6 days where you can have more work and you can relax. So even though, yes, I would say he's very, you know, let's get the work done. There's also a sense of balance, and I think that he does very well. He's also a good motivator as a boss. He's a good pusher. You know, you got all this work that needs to be done and you have a very short time span to get it done. He's very good at just like, let's grind this out. And he's very much sometimes in the weeds with me. We have a video that's last minute. You know, I'll be doing this over here. He's editing here, handing him stuff to put in the video. So I think in that regard, he definitely pushes hard, but I don't think it's, sometimes we, of course, play it up for the iced coffee hour a little bit.
Sounds like a healthy balance of work, though.
Yeah, definitely a healthy balance.
Do you feel like he's influenced you with regard to your finances? Are you learning a lot? Has anything changed for you?
So I don't really feel like he's changed me too much, but that is only because I was kind of a fan beforehand. So I was already influenced in a way. I'm still doing the same thing that I was before, mainly just investing into index funds. But definitely he's influenced me to kind of go out and not be so kind of afraid, especially like in the real estate game. I don't have any homes, and as you know, buying your first home is like, a big deal. And so it makes me confident knowing that, I have Graham next to me and I can just be like, hey, like, what do you think of this? And I tried to respect his time, of course. So I'm not in the process of exactly buying the home yet. So, but once that comes, Graham, you're going to be getting some texts from me. So
yeah, actually, I wanted to talk to you about that, your goals with real estate. So you do want to buy a home. Sounds like it's already kind of being planned. Are you looking, or are you just saving your chips and waiting for a different time?
So in the previous Millennial Money, Jeremy confronted me. He showed me a post that Kevin put it that said, right now is not the time to buy real estate. And he said, Alex, what do you think about this? And I said, you know what, Jeremy? That doesn't matter to me. You know why? Personally, I think especially with Las Vegas, I don't think that the housing market is going to soften too much, just because the demand cannot keep up with the supply right now. They're not building homes as fast enough. But even aside from that, let's say I'm completely wrong. It doesn't matter, because I'm buying this home for myself and for my wife. It's not a rental property. My first home is not a rental property. And I plan to hold it minimum between 8 and 10 years. As long as I can wait and find a good deal, be patient, and I lock in a loan that I can afford that's not above my means, I think I'm okay. And that's my next plan for real estate.
So you said it's not going to be a rental. Do you plan to have investment properties, or you're just going to buy this one house, live in it, and then that's the end of your real estate game?
That's a great question. I would love to have some rentals in the future, but right now I'm focused on securing a home for myself. I personally would love to house hack my home. The wife's not a huge fan of that, so I like to say that we're in negotiation right now. I'm trying to see what we can do here. I've heard of people blocking off parts of the house, or maybe we get a duplex, but as you know, those are very sought after. And so I'm not sure what exactly we're going to do. But if it were up to me, I would love to house hack my home and eventually buy a rental after that. So I do plan on having a rental eventually. If I can convince the wife to house hack, it'll probably come faster. But I respect her privacy. And if she's not comfortable with somebody living in the home, it's her house. And we got to come to an agreement. So that's why I say we're in negotiation.
So a couple things I would say about your desire to invest. I think you might want to consider that a great investing strategy is to plan on the first house that you buy being a rental in the future. Because if you actually buy it owner occupied, you'll get a better rate. But you can move out of it at a future date and keep that same loan at a lower rate and then get another owner occupied. So keeping that in mind could be potentially powerful. Second thing I would say is, if your wife does not want to have a roommate living in the house, have you considered a duplex? So you can live on one side and then rent out the other side and house hack that way.
So those are great points that you bring up. I think in terms of the buying the first house, in terms of considering that as a rental, where potentially after the first year I move out, I think that's definitely a possibility, because I don't plan on buying a house that is at the top of my price point. I don't need a giant space to live. I really don't. And so buying at a price point where let's say I do decide to move out and buy another house, to be able to have some vacancy in that property for a little bit and be able to afford it, I think should be no problem. So I'm not looking to buy at the top of my price point. So I think that renting that house out in the future is definitely a possibility, but depending on where the market is and where I am with my career, I could also just live in there. It just really depends on the future. But my plan is to buy in a safe zone in terms of finances. The duplex, great idea. If I can find one for a really good deal, I would totally do that. And my wife, she already told me she would be 100% okay with the duplex. So in an ideal world, I would find a duplex, live in one side, rent out the other, and then eventually work my way towards a rental property. So that would be great. I hope I can find a good deal, and hopefully that works out.
I think a duplex would be really good for you based on the sound of it. Because when you move out of that duplex, now you're already a landlord of 2 units, and you're living in a 3rd unit. And that's just a great way to kick off a career in real estate investing. But one other little bit of advice I would have for you is if you do plan to move out of a house, supposing it's not even a duplex, just a single family home, and you're going to move out and rent that home, usually a lender will want to see an explanation as to why you're moving. And it's because they want to avoid mortgage fraud. So the new house has to be bigger and better. So for example, if your first house is 5 bedrooms, and then you're like, okay, that's been fun. Now I'm going to move into a 3-bedroom house. The story doesn't really make sense on paper to the lender. They might think that you're trying to commit mortgage fraud. So just a little tip. You said you don't want to buy at the top of the market, but you might also want to keep the bedroom count kind of low and the square footage kind of low. And that will help you move to a bigger and bigger house. You can actually do that several times. You can go to a 2-bedroom, then move out into a 3-bedroom and rent.
Yeah.
And then again to a 4-bedroom. And each time you're getting the best possible rate because each one is owner occupied.
The deal with that though is, as long as I stay in it for a year, and my intent is to live in it. That's not mortgage fraud, but I see what you mean. Being able to just have everything straight so that there's no hiccups along the way. And I think that's a great idea. I don't want to buy a huge house to begin with in the first place. I'm very much in the mindset, and I grew up the same way, that if I buy a small house, I could see myself living there forever. I don't really, as long as it's got enough space for me, the wife, and my pets, and an office, that's it. That's all I need. So maybe the office is the living room temporarily, but hey, if it works, it works.
So one thing that kind of makes me nervous about the market, it's one thing if you're going to buy a house and live in it. To your point, it doesn't matter what the price is. If you can afford it and your family is happy there, then who really cares if the market goes up or down? But one thing that's making me a little bit nervous, it's kind of changing the game. Because I used to say, I don't care about the market going up or down either, because I'm in it for the long term, as long as I have cash flow. There's something different now. It used to be you could put, 20% down, and then you could rent out the property, and life was good. It paid the rent you received would pay for your mortgage and expenses, and everything worked. I'm finding now that home prices are so high, and then with the interest rates going up like they have, a deal where you put 20% down, at least in my area, no longer works. You're not going to get rents to cover all of that. So the only way I can make a deal work is if I put 40% in or 50% in. But now you're talking about a much larger chunk of money on the table. But it's like, who cares as long as the rents are paying for your mortgage and you're keeping it for the long term. But the tricky part is there's a lot of downward pressure and there's pretty significant potential that home prices will drop. And I'm not saying that real estate investing is bad. It's just, it's different now. And I'm a little bit more apprehensive. I'm nervous. I feel like if I put 50% down on a property, I don't know if I'm willing to lose a bunch of that money. I guess in the long run, home prices will go back up again. But it's just, it's a lot more to think about, at least for me right now. What are your thoughts on that?
So in terms of the interest rates, I'm not too concerned because if you look historically, interest rates are still low. I mean, I know I'm really young, and so growing up and seeing like, oh, it's like 5 or 6%, I'm like, oh my gosh, that kind of freaks me out a little bit because Jack, he works with me. He locked in at like 3.1 or something, or 3.05. I forget what it was. And I'm just like, wow, that's incredible. I'm like, he's literally making money off having a loan because of inflation. Like, I'm like, that's incredible, right? But if you look historically, I mean, interest rates are still low. I mean, there was a point where interest rates were near 20% at one point. But so I'm not too concerned about interest rates. And I know that statistically as well, once interest rates increase, we typically, and I say typically, we see home prices come down as buyers lose borrowing power. Now, I'm not saying that that'll happen because this market is so incredibly unpredictable, especially with all the building shortages. And in Las Vegas especially, I mean, I think it's been one of the most chaotic markets in the U.S. So I'm not really sure what we're going to see home prices do exactly. And I also am not a fan of putting too much money down. But at certain interest rates, my hand might be a little bit folded. I mean, I could see why I wouldn't want to put down at, such a low interest rate because I can invest the rest of the money and get a bigger return and profit the difference. But now at the interest rates that we're crossing, I mean, I think what are we looking at currently? Like 6% or something now? Interest rates have crossed?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a point where I'm like, well, realistically, where can I put that money and make more than 6%? So I feel like when I buy a house, depending on where we are in terms of interest rates and the market, I may be forced to put more money down than I wanted myself as well. And yes, at that point, you have to do the math and you have to say, does this deal really make sense? Or should I rent for an extra year? I don't know where we're going to be. All I know is that because of my current situation with my wife and jobs, I need to wait till the end of the year before I can buy to be able to qualify for the loan that I would like. And so other than that, we have a down payment saved, we're ready to go, but I don't know where the market will be 2023.
So I think typically what we say is that for every 1% that an interest rate rises, home values will come down 10%. So if you think about that math right there, we haven't really seen home prices drop yet, but we've seen interest rates go up 3%. So already, if that logic holds true, we're talking about a 30% drop in home values. And so I think that's why a lot of people are saying, is now the time to buy?
So if we have a market where rents are starting to trend upward to catch up to the higher real estate prices, then I think at that point, you have to sit down and evaluate the actual deal that you're looking at. Is it worth buying that home? It could be yes, because the rents have caught up. Is it not worth buying that home because you can rent that house for less than you can buy it?
So I think what you're saying is that you're always doing a rent versus buy analysis, and it's not just home prices that are changing, it's rents that are potentially also changing. And so you have to look at both sides of the equation in your case.
Exactly. I think J-Bay just summed it up in like a sentence for me, but yes.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit right now. So one thing I keep seeing on the podcast and, throughout some of Graham's videos, there's this discussion about how much money is required to be happy. What amount equals happiness? And one of the things that you've been accused of is you picked an amount and then you've been moving the bar. And you've been saying that you haven't moved the bar, but why don't we just clear this up for the audience? What's going on there?
Yeah, great question. Well, one, I want to make it clear, I have not moved the bar. I told Graham and Jack a specific amount based on I didn't even know the amount. So, okay, so just to clear the air, I said the amount of money to be happy for me is at a point where I no longer worry about money. And that could be, the thing is, that could be different for so many people.
But for you, how much is that?
So there's no way for me to know, I think.
What do you mean?
I mean, there's
how much money per year
Yes.
do you not have to worry about money?
See, that's the thing. I feel like I might have to always worry about money. And then we get into this rabbit hole of like,
So you're raising the bar.
kind of. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. Yeah. I know, it doesn't make sense. So I think originally I said, whatever, like like some of those studies said, like, I think I've seen anywhere from 70 to like $100,000 a year is like peak return for happiness or something. And I can definitely say that when I was working a time in my life where I made 30 grand a year to like, let's say 70 grand a year, the amount of happiness in terms of like not having to stress about money, being able to go out with my wife and girlfriend at the time, and not having to worry about, not that we spend a ridiculous amount, but you know what I'm saying, just like a regular, let's say $15 meal, not having to worry about that is good. But then we come into terms of, okay, but what about the difference between like 70 to 100? What's the difference in happiness there? And I start to see a diminishing return. And so I don't really know where the bar of happiness is in terms of money, because I feel like with the way that I grew up, I will always have some sort of doubt for money. But I think it's minimizing that as much as possible. And I think I've already gotten there. We just had you on the Iced Coffee Hour, and you said you were homeless at one point and you were living in a tent. So what do you think the bar is in terms of happiness and money?
You know what? I think you actually raised some interesting points. In economics, there's this concept called the horizon of diminishing returns. Let me just give an example of what that's like. When computers were first invented, you had people go from no computer at all to a computer. Granted, it wasn't a very good computer, but the difference between not having one and having one was huge. And then they came out with, a faster computer. Maybe you got a Pentium computer, and then a Pentium 2, and then a Pentium 3. But at a certain point, the upgrade started mattering less and less. The benefit that was provided by upgrading your computer was diminishing over time. And I think the same thing is true with an income. If you take yourself from poverty to middle class, that's huge. And that could be different depending on your area. Maybe it's 50,000 for some or 70,000, depending on where you live. But then you add another 10,000. The boss gives you a raise. Does it change your life all that much? Once you have your basic necessities, like a roof, food, money for entertainment, there starts to be less and less things you can do, at least without a significant amount of additional money, right? To me, it's less about a specific number and more about feeling secure. I never want to feel like I would have to not have a place to live, or that I can't feed my family, or that I can't eat. And that's one thing that's really important to me. I want to always feel financially secure. And I would also say that freedom of time is really important to me. I guess it's the concept of financial freedom. I want to work because I choose to, not because I have to. And that gives you the ability to say, what do I want to do with my day? And I think that's invaluable for me.
One thing that I find myself looking back on too is like hedonic adaptation. I don't know if you've seen that at all. Like, if you have like steak dinners every night and you're used to like steak dinners, then jumping from like a $50 steak dinner to like $100 steak dinner, who cares? I mean, it's good steak. But going from McDonald's dollar menu to like a nice steak dinner, like huge jump. And I think sometimes it's also about, I don't know how to say, but checking yourself. And, if something becomes a habit, it is no longer a treat. I don't know, maybe that's the best way to put it. So, if you're constantly, spoiling yourself in the lap of luxury hotel rooms every time, then it no longer brings you as much happiness, because now it's your new normal. But if when you do travel, you are conscious about budget. You still want to have that entertainment. You want to live life. You want to have a good time with your wife. No, but I think that it's all about balance. But then let's say you got your 10-year anniversary coming up and you decide to splurge a little bit more, right? And you get a hotel room like this. That's special. And it's more special when you and your wife stay at moderate, hotels. Again, I'm not saying get the worst room on the block, but within reason. And treating yourself to something like this, you really like. I mean, we walked in here and I think we were all like, "Whoa, look at this place." But if I, let's say, work for a multimillionaire and every time I travel with him, we're just staying at places like this, then it's no longer special. And so I think that money ties in to that kind of mindset, and it's really about balance.
I agree. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
So that's really hard to say, because every time I hear Graham talk in interviews, he's always like, yeah, who knows how long this train can go? We're like, he's like, maybe, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So the thing is, the world of YouTube is very cyclical. There's studies shown on how long a YouTube channel is in its peak. And YouTube in general with the algorithm has a shift towards different trends. I mean, 2020, 2021, huge for finance, right? I mean, the growth that we saw in the finance space, it was huge. And before it was non-existent or almost non-existent. Of course, you had people like Beat the Bush or, people like that. But with the nature of YouTube being kind of unpredictable, I kind of see the same thing in my career. But I love what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I think that I've learned enough skills to be able to, let's say Graham decides to retire and for whatever reason he doesn't need me anymore. I think I've built enough skills to be able to build up a brand or help somebody else build up their brand and be able to do what I want to do. And I think that surrounding yourself with people who have the same mindset, you just learn infinitely. And I think somebody asked Jack this, like if Graham just disappeared, he wanted to retire, what would you do? And I think he said, I don't think I'd have a problem finding a job. I think I'm in the exact same boat. I think I would probably find a good fit. So I don't, in terms of 5 years, I don't know exactly where I'll be. Ideally, I would love to grow something with Graham that we can do on a much bigger scale. But honestly, I know that the industry that I'm in is a little bit unpredictable. And I think it's about when you're presented with an opportunity to be able to take it and be able to ride it out to where it can go. And I think I just take it day by day. That's kind of where I see it. But I love what I do, and I wouldn't trade it for me. So. All right, guys, so be sure to subscribe. Until next time, you guys are awesome.